This is video number 11 in the series on the manufacture of a slider for a Seydel Saxony. I've never done this on video before, but I'm going to go into quite a bit of detail on the shape of the slider. Not the shape on the bottom, because that is dictated by the shape of the harp, but the shape on the top of the slider, which can pretty much be anything you want. This is a slider for a Pissardo. You can see that it's quite thin, and let me grab the harp and show you what happened on this one. The Pissardo has a rather large trapezoidal mouthpiece, and you can see that the slider fits it on the underside, but on the upper side it's almost more rounded. Why was that done, and what could you do? Let me just give you some options, okay? When you're going to make a slider, you could kind of shape it like that, whoop, kind of like a Suzuki Sirius or SCX. You could go kind of fatter and thicker and bigger like that. Or you could make it trapezoidal. Like I could actually make a slider that follows this shape, and that would be with the lips touch. I think that you know what you want to do based on experience in doing this and testing. I've made so many prototypes that I understand in depth what happens with each one, I think, pretty well. And having invented it, I understand it. Again, we're talking now not about the bottom part, which touches the harp, and of course that's controlled basically by the shape here, but more the top, because it starts off like this, but it ain't going to stay that way very long. I'm going to start shaping it tomorrow. Now, what I've found is that you don't really want it any thicker than it needs to be stable, because it just adds a teeny bit of weight. And I like them best when they're very, very lightweight, like a featherweight. And that's one of the reasons I ended up with this very thin one for the Pissardo, because that's all it takes. It's got the nice trapezoidal on the underside, but then a nice gradual curve on the top. So it actually turns, if you think about it, it turns a trapezoidal mouthpiece into a rounded, doesn't it? Because your lips touch the slider. So, with this instrument, I've made them various shapes, and the shape that I like best is rounded on the top. So I changed this from a trapezoidal mouthpiece to rounded, because the slider will be made rounded. And if the curvature is pronounced, more of it sticks in the mouth, but it also is a little slower to activate with breath because the chamber's deeper then on the slider. The thicker the slider, the longer the time of activation. And we're talking very small portions of a second. So what I'm going to want to do is to shape this in such a way that it's rounded, but not too thick. And it won't be a real gradual curve, and it won't be real pronounced. It'll kind of be in the middle. And I find that works best. Actually, I actually put them to my lips while I'm sanding them on the bench grinder and feel, is it comfortable? And then look at it, and oftentimes I'll drill a hole and play it, and I'll go, I want it a little thinner. I can always go thinner. I don't ever want to take off too much. But so there's really a whole lot to the shaping of one of these. I do make them uniform across their entire length, so whatever it's like this, it's that way here and here, even though the hole will only be in one hole here. The differences in play are pronounced from my experience from the different shapings. So I'm going to go thick enough to be totally stable, but thin enough to be quick. And I'm going to change it from a trapezoidal shape on the underside. You can see how glass smooth this thing is on the underside right now. very smooth. And I'll have a rounded shape on the top when I'm done. So anyway, that's kind of the answer. Again, understanding that you have a lot of things you could do. You could make a trapezoidal slider, right? You could make a big, thick, round one, or you could make kind of a deep one like that too. A lot of different ways to go. And when it comes to shaping sliders, just like it is shaping a mouthpiece, what's going to be the most comfortable? You have to test it. Anyway, so that's kind of an in-depth discussion of what's going to happen on this harp. And the shaping, like this, will be done with a bench grinder by hand, and I'll be doing that tomorrow. Today I took it from a chunk of Lexan to this shape, so I did cut the underside in, and then tomorrow I'll actually turn this into a slider shape, and I might drill a hole tomorrow and I might not. I work until I get tired. You don't ever want to work with hand craftsmanship if you're fatigued.